Hello everybody, this is Evan with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I'm going to be bringing you a review of Quest for the Trident. This is a really small publisher here that got this over to us for review, so I'm going to take you down to the table, give you an example of how to play the game, bring you back up for my final thoughts. Alright everybody, so we're down here onto the table for Quest for the Trident. So in Quest for the Trident, the seas are in turmoil and Poseidon is wielding his trident to exact his vengeance on man. Your people can no longer wait for him to be appeased. So the goal of this game is you're going to try and steal Poseidon's trident and hide it so the powers can't be abused. So you're going to be doing all of that exploring and trying to find it here. The trident here is going to be in Poseidon's palace, and you're going to get there. That's going to be a card that is going to be in this deck, and you're going to slowly build out the area that you're going to play in. So, as you play, we need to set up the deck here so we can get started. So this deck here is all the sea cards that you're going to have. So you're going to start in the harbor. You want to pull that out here, and then a ship for every person that can play. And this game can play up to 6 players. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the deck of cards, take the bottom 10, and then you're going to take Poseidon's Palace and you're going to shuffle it into the bottom 10. So you know that it is always going to be toward the end of your journey of your exploration here, but you don't know exactly. So you put it right in there and your deck is ready to go. So you're going to take a ship, the color that you want. You're going to get a couple sailors. You're going to get one of these tokens here, which represents if you're capsized or not, which we'll go over in a little bit. But you're going to put it on this side in front of you. You're also going to get one of these little handy reference cards to kind of remind you of the different things you are going to be doing. And what's nice is this reference card actually has most of the rules in the game. So overall the rules are a small little that. But at this point, once you get as many people as you're playing, here I'm just set up for a 2-player, but as many people are going to be playing, just roll to see who goes first, and then you go from there. So you have a couple actions on your turn of what you can do. So on your turn, you can, first example would be to move. Moving is quite simple. Roll a die, and that's how far you can move. You can move in any of the main directions. You cannot move diagonally. The only way you can move diagonally is if a card actually forces you to move diagonally, such as a whirlpool or something like that. So, let's say that I was a green player going first. I rolled that 1, so I can go 1. So I'll pick, a direction I want to go. Let's say I want to go down. I take this, I flip it over, and I go there. Now this one, it says Stormy Seas, stop moving. So if there's any actions that are onto the card, you do those immediately as you go. So even if I rolled a 6, I moved 1, I have to stop moving. That's the end of my turn. But say for example, I did apparently a terrible job of shuffling. But say that came up, it was clear, and I had to roll a 4. Well, I still have 3 more movements, so I could go in one of these 3 directions, or I could go back to the harbor. So 1 down, and then let's say if I want to go here. 2, 3, 4, and then shifting seas. We'll talk about shifting seas in a little bit, but that is the basic movement of the game. Another thing that you can do into the game through your explorations, you're going to find one of these locations. Notice that the sea locations here are all blue bordered. to represent that. Anything that has this brown outside is going to be a land, and that's important for the distinction. When something like this happens, that will shift the seas, which, like I said, I will go over here in a little bit. Say blue rolled a 2 and went straight over this way. So on a hideaway. So one thing you can do is at the start of your turn, instead of moving, you can claim a hideaway. So what a hideaway will do is you get to place your crew member there, and then look for that on one of these cards. The picture will match up to help you, but also has the name on there. And then you'll place this right in front of you, and each one of these has a special ability. At the most, you can have 3 hideaways at any time. Now, hideaways are important because the goal of the game, as I said at the beginning, is trying to find Poseidon's Trident. But in order to do that, you need to go and do a couple things. One, you have to visit this location and get the Tome of the Gods, because that item right there says you have to bring this to Poseidon's palace to gain Poseidon's Trident. So you do that. Eventually you're going to find the palace. If you have the Tome, you have the Trident. Now what do you do that? Goal of the game, right there, number 3. You need to bring that back to one of your hideaways to win. So these are important to get. It kind of stinks that you have to waste a turn onto getting that, but it is important, so it is a necessary evil for you. Another option you have is, say, and that's what blue does. Green's off doing its own adventures. Blue moves off this way. Green could come here to an enemy hideaway, and as soon as you move on to an enemy hideaway, you're going to roll a die. 1 to 3, you capsize. 4 to 6, you would actually take over their hideaway and immediately gain the card benefit. So notice how I said something about capsizing. So capsizing means if you have any items on your ship, which would be one of these 2, it stays here, and you immediately go back to the harbor. You take your token here, that's in front of you, you flip it over to capsized, and then you just follow this. Beginning of your turn, shift the seas, flip this over, and your turn. So it's basically it's a one turn, lose your turn kind of thing, but you get to shift the seas, which is kind of a really neat feature in this game. So I'm going to throw a couple more of these locations out. And an important thing for the locations is these tiles is you are limited on how far you can go. So it's a 7x7, so you can go 3 up this way, 3, 3, and 3. That is the biggest that you can go. So let's say that example, so green went in here to try and take that port, and like I did when I went in there, I rolled the 1. So immediately I'll capsize. So you turn your ship over, you go back to the harbor. This flipped, next is going to sit in front of me. Blue goes and they go off that way. They rolled a 1, didn't move too far. So it's now green's turn. So at the beginning of the turn, I shift the sea. So what that means is you take 2 tiles that are flipped up that are sea tiles. So you can't touch the browns. Any of the blue outlined, you can. So you pick any 2 you want, flip them over. And then after you have them flipped over, what you're going to do is you're going to swap any other 2 tiles, any other 2 of the ocean tiles. Doesn't have to necessarily be the ones you flipped. So I can flip and move these like that, or some other combination. Important thing to note is, say there was an item on this location, which was this whirlpool. Okay. So the whirlpool you can never stop it because it immediately forces you to move. So that tome is untouchable right now. But when you shift the seas, items stay in the location. So if I do that, all of a sudden now the tome is available again. So that's an important thing to note. Last thing to note too is in the event, let's knock this a little bit over here, because we have this whirlpool here. Oh, where is it? Right there. So like I said, you can only go 3 in each direction from the harbor. Any point if you have the whirlpool and it tries to kick you off the board, you either use the other directions like this one. So it's here. I can't go that way anymore because that would push me 4 over, too far out. I would have to follow the down arrow. There are some that would point you in both directions. That would make it an illegal move. You just rotate it 180 degrees. Actually kick you back into the board. So that's what you want to do for that, to make sure that the board stays in legal directions. So the last option you have on your turn is you can actually attack another player. So, like this, and say blue player has the Tome of the Gods. I rolled 2, so I can make it over there to that player. So each person's going to roll a die. Highest roll wins. Defender wins ties. The loser of that roll capsizes. The winner immediately gets to take any items they have. They don't go into the ocean, they just straight up take them. Like I said, the loser immediately capsizes and then follows the regular capsize rules. So you keep playing the game here until someone gets the Trident and takes it back to their hideaway. There is an expansion that does come with this game, so the Winds of Change. This is a very small expansion there. It adds just a few more cards into it. It has these changing winds. The biggest thing is it's going to take a couple cards out of here. It's going to take out of the deck here. It's going to take the Stormy Seas tiles. It's going to replace them with Zephyr's Gales. And then you're going to be shuffling these wind cards. And what the wind cards do, it's going to give you a free 1 move in whatever direction the winds are blowing without you having to use up a die roll of your movement. And sometimes the winds are going to push you diagonally. Then there are a couple other cards in here that are different, such as like water spouts, but it just adds just a tiny bit more to the game, but it's a really neat expansion. So I'm going to bring you back up from the table here and give you my final thoughts on Quest for the Trident. So final thoughts here on Quest for the Trident. So this is like I said, a small game by a small publisher. Lab Rat Games is the company that put this out. They have a couple games under their title. One of the other ones that we reviewed, Corpse Cat, we've done a review for them. But overall, the game is a very, very small, simplistic game. It is not designed to be overly complex, very hard to learn. It's a very simple game, simple mechanics, easy to learn, easy to teach. There's not a lot of meat to it, but there are a couple of things that make it the least enjoyable to play. It's a roll and move, which some people don't find appealing, but it's actually not badly implemented into this game, and I really like how the seas can shift through a couple of different things. So once you get 3 or 4 times of that happening, a bunch of cards that are turned back over, once you knew what they were, it kind of changes the map on you, so you're going to have to be able to change the things that you're doing very quickly. Overall, like I said, let me grab the rule book here. The rules are, there's not a lot to it, and everything you need is on the front and back of this little guy right here. For what they did with such a small rule book and for the components, they did a really good job with that, and I'm really happy to be able to help them out and review this game for them. As with their other game here, the box and the container that comes in, very top notch. Just for this, it was really good. But we'll have a link down below where you can go and find a copy of this game. They sell everything through their Etsy page, so they're not a very big manufacturer or a big company at all. It's a very small group. I think only a couple guys that are actually doing this, and it's definitely not their primary job. So, if this looks like something that could possibly interest you, throw them a couple bucks and get a copy of the game. It'll definitely help them out. But I would recommend this game, if you have somebody that is looking for something that's not over the top, really simplistic and easy to play. Or if you have some younger kids. If my youngest was maybe 7 or 8, this would be a game that I think I could play with them. He's a little bit younger than that, so it might still be a year or two before he would be able to really get into something like this. But I think that would be a good also target area for this game. So definitely check it out, and as always, definitely hit our subscribe button, hit the little bell for the notification so you know whenever our new content comes out. You'll be one of the first people to know. All the likes that you can give us definitely are helpful. Then throw down in the comments if there are anything else that you want to see us review, or if you have questions about this. But until later, this is Evan with Tabletop Gaming Guild. Have a good night.